Hello and welcome back to Race Recap. My name is Jackson, and tonight you'll be looking at the first of multiple preseason videos coming up in the next couple days because the 2023 motorsports season is closing in quickly, and actually, the IMSA series is kicking off action in less than 2 weeks at Daytona Motorsport Speedway, and I'm excited for that. And a couple of those races might be live streamed right here on Race Recap, but look at tomorrow night's video in the IMSA preseason video where we'll talk more about that. And before we get into tonight's video, which is about the NASCAR Wheel and Modified Tour and the NASCAR National Series, Cup, Xfinity, and Trucks, I just wanted to mention I'm going to try to use the community page more often as a utility this season. It's just a really easy way to get the message across, and I can do it while the racing action is still going on at the time. So be on the lookout for that as we kick off the season. Now, I just want to take a touch into the schedule for the Wheel and Modified Tour. You'll see one of my favorites. They're returning to North Wilkesboro, and this is actually the largest schedule in about 19 years, I believe, as I was told. 2022 champion was, of course, John McKinney, and that was at Martinsville. I was actually at the races after that, the Xfinity and Cup race, and I did see that Ross Chastain moved, the video game moved, as it was called. That was crazy to watch. And actually, I'm going to post this on the community page so it can always be there. Now, looking at the truck series, which is no longer the Gander Outdoor Truck Series, it has gone back to the old Craftsman Truck Series, and I'm excited to see the old red logo up there again. Of course, still the Xfinity and Cup. This will also be in the community page, but I just wanted to highlight a couple key races. You may or may not have heard this, but the Chicago Street Course on July 4th weekend is going to be the first street race ever in NASCAR. I'm really interested. I'm not sure if it's going to be good, bad. Stock cars. We'll see if they can get up to speeds on the Chicago Street Course. A couple other new tracks. North Wilkesboro. I'm sure you heard this one if you're a racing fan. Going there for the All-Star race. And I forgot this. The truckers are also heading to North Wilkesboro for just a regular season race, and that'll be on Fox, I believe. The only race on Fox for the Truck Series. Also returning to the Bristol Dirt Track are the Trucks and Cup. Also the Cup going to the LA Clash, which is coming up in I think less than a month now, and it is February 5th is the official date. That's Sunday. Also, of course, returning to Nashville and the Indy Road Course, a couple of my favorite tracks, as well as Sonoma, and I mentioned Gateway as well with them, and the Trucks and Portland for the Xfinity Series. Now, one race that is missing off the Cup schedule this year is actually Road America. I personally liked that race last year, but they have taken it off, and it will be only the Xfinity going to Road America at the end of July. The trucks are also going back to Mid-Ohio for their road course race, so disappointed not to see the Cup at Road America, but I'm sure the Xfinity Series will put on a show. Again, this will be in the community page, but this right here will not be. So listen closely. These are the 2023 driver changes. I have them written down right here. We're going to start with the Gander Outdoor Truck Series. So, looking ahead, we don't have all of them yet. A couple of the smaller teams have not announced yet, like Young's Motorsports, but we do have a couple of the bigger announcements, which you've probably heard a couple of them already. Now, the two of Nick Sanchez, he was in the Erica Menard Series. He has moved up to the Rev Racing Chevrolet and the Gander, or I can't say that anymore. It's the Craftsman Truck Series this season. So he'll be with crew chief Danny Stockman. I'm excited to see that. Chase Purdy and Jack Wood leave their teams at Hattori and GMS and move to the Kyle Busch Motorsports Chevy, which is no longer a Toyota, and I'm sure you know Kyle Busch no longer with Joe Gibbs. We'll get to that in the Cup side of things. So Chase Purdy is the full-time driver there. Jack Wood is part-time in the 51. Chase Purdy's in the 4, and Wood will share that ride with the boss, Kyle Busch, for a couple races. And the Taylor Gray brothers, that was David Gillen Racing, is no longer David Gillen Racing. It is Tricon Garage Toyota, and now they have 4 trucks. Dean Thompson will be the full-timer in the number 5. Corey Heim has left Kyle Busch since it's, I guess, no longer the Toyota, and he's moved to Tricon for the number 11 truck. And Tanner Gray returns as well in the number 15, and Taylor Gray will not be eligible for the season opener race at Daytona, but I think he got a voucher so he can race all the other races after Daytona starting at Vegas, and he'll still be eligible for the playoffs. Now, Thor Sport has moved back to a Ford. Haley Deegan has also moved to ThorSport full-time in the number 13. Of course, Matt Crafton, Ben Rhodes also at ThorSport with Ty Majeski. The Tricon, I mentioned 4 trucks. McAnally, Bill McAnally, that is. I believe he's still going to have 3 full-timers this year. Christian Eckes joins the team. Also joining the team is Jake Garcia, and it is still unknown if Colby Howard will round him out for the full-time year, but that will be something that will be on the community page when we find that out. We do know Matty D will return for Rackley War. Raja Karuth has been promoted up to the GMS number 24 along with teammate Grant Enfinger. Big news out of the AM Racing Chevy, that is with Austin Wayne himself. He'll be in the truck series, but AM will also field an ARCA entry full-time with Christian Rose and a Xfinity entry with Brett Moffitt in the number 25, so excited to see that team expanding. We don't have news on a couple of these other smaller teams yet on point, the Motorsports number 30 and Rayom Brothers, but Rayom had the 33 and 43 this season. Well, the 43 is actually going to be a GMS entry with the Daniel Dye. He will be full-time in the truck series after running the ARCA last season, so excited to see what Daniel can do in the truck series. And as for Nice Motorsports, not much out of that. All we do know is Carson Hocevar has returned for the full season. And at front row, Zane Smith, the returning 2022 Truck Series champion, is returning in the 38. And he's also going to run some Xfinity and Cup races, possibly even the Daytona 500. Now, also looking over, we mentioned Kyle Busch partnering up and with Chevrolet, with he and Jack Wood in the 51. Hallmark Friesen will return with Stuart Friesen. No news on a couple of these smaller teams, and that about does it for the truckers. Let's gonna move on to the Xfinity Series now and take a look over on that side. Probably the biggest news, in my opinion, Cole Custer has dropped away from the Cup Series. I guess some of the performances last season, I guess say they were average at best. 20th, 25th. That's not what Stuart Haas was looking for. And he'll be back in the 00 for the full Xfinity Series season. JR Motorsports returning all their drivers except in the 9, Noah Gragson up to the Cup Series, Brandon Jones leaving the number 19 for Joe Gibbs to go out over to the number 9. JD Motorsports is hoping to have a 3-car entry with Bailey, Curry, Brennan Poole full-time in the 6, and possibly the number 0. We'll see if that comes to fruition. That'll be something on the community page if it does come about. SS Greenlight has signed Blaine Perkins for the full-time season, dropping Joe Graff Jr., and no news on the 08 quite yet. Colleague is Landon Castle and Daniel Hemrick returning, but with Adrian Allmendinger moving up to the Cup Series, Chandler Smith will take over the number 16 and be full-time. Sammy Smith will drive the full-time Joe Gibbs Racing Toyota in the number 18, and I believe the 19 might be a part-time entry. We'll see. Ryan Truex has signed 6 races so far in that Joe Gibbs 19. The 20 has returned for Joe Gibbs, and it will be John Hunter Nemechek full-time, moving up from KBM last season in the trucks. Austin Hill most likely going to return to RCR, and unknown for our Motorsports actually with Anthony Alfredo. They do not have anyone in the 02 yet or in the 23 officially. That'll be something on the community if it comes about. But their driver last year that lost out due to sponsorship problems, Brett Moffitt I mentioned, has gained sponsorship and will be full-time with AM Racing in the 25. Sam Hunt Racing has extended to 2 full-time entries. Kaz Garala will be full-time. Excited to see that in the number 26 and the 24 car. They said it was going to be full-time, but I believe it's going to be around 20 races, and we'll see if they get another driver to fill that spot. It will be 20 races so far with Connor Mosak. Now, Jordan Anderson Racing, big news there. Again, this is what makes me worried about our Motorsports. They have lost the number 27 car. Jordan Anderson will be the owner of that car, and it will still be Jeb Burton, though. And Myatt Snyder will no longer race for Jordan. It will be Parker Retzloff in the 31 full-time. Jesse Wuji Motorsports, still the same with he and Kyle Weatherman. Emerling Gase has announced that they want to have 2 full-time entries, so excited to see what they bring to the table. And I also saw that they were in the ARCA testing at Daytona entry list, so we'll see if they look to enter some ARCA races. That'd be interesting. DGM has not announced much. That is the Mario Gosselin cars, 36, 91 and 92, but they have said that I believe Josh Williams would love to be full-time and probably will be. RSS has not announced much other than Ryan Sieg is returning. Alpha Prime, I'm excited to mention this. They have expanded to 3 full-time cars, the 43, the 44, and the 45. The 43 will be primarily Ryan Ellis. We'll see who the other drivers there are as well. And Ryan Ellis, I believe, at least 15 races, so about half the season. Jeffrey Earnhardt, so glad to see him in a full-time ride. He'll be full-time in the 44 for Alpha Prime, and the 45 will be filled by a bunch of drivers, probably Stephen Parsons, Sage Karam. I heard Leilani Honeyman Jr. will do some races for Alpha Prime, so excited to see that. Because some of the biggest news this season, Parker Kligerman is going to be full-time. Finally, he's got a full-time ride. It is with Big Machines Racing in the number 48, and I think he's going to do some great things over there at that team. Mike Harmon has joined up with Gary Keller as a co-owner, so we'll see if they don't have a driver announced, but it looks like they will be returning. Jerry McClement's also returning, and the 54 car probably will not have a driver in it this year. Still looking for sponsorship is Brandon Brown, and checking on MBM Motorsports, the 66 and 13. They've got a couple part-time drivers announced, but nothing full-time quite yet. And lastly, in the Xfinity Series, we'll check out BJ McLeod. They had 2 full-time cars last year. They did have 3 until they dropped one. That was the 99. It will return this year with a planned full-time entry. That will be Garrett Smithley, and we have not heard on the 78 or 5 car yet. And of course, Riley Harris returns to Stuart Haas. So let's move on to the to the Cup Series real quick. And I just forgot, Dale Earnhardt Jr. He has announced he will do his one race at Bristol. That will be in the number 88 car, and some Hendrick Motorsports action. Kyle Larson, William Byron, Alex Bowman, and Chase Elliott. They might like to get some Xfinity Series races. They did that last year. We'll see if they do it again this year. Most everything has stayed the same in the Cup Series, so I'll just skip ahead to the big-time changes. Kyle Busch, no longer Joe Gibbs. He was there for as long as I can remember, been let go, and he has been picked up by Richard Childress, so he'll be in the 8 car, the Chevrolet. And that means Tyler Reddick does not have a seat. Well, he does. He is moving ahead early. His contract has been upgraded to this season to race at 2311 along with Bubba Wallace in the 45. Of course, you may or may not have heard this. Kurt Busch will not return to full-time action. Really sad to see after that injury he sustained, the concussion at Pocono during qualifying. Colleague has AJ Allmendinger and Justin Haley full-time. And Ryan Preece is the driver taking Cole Custer's seat, and I think Ryan Preece will do great things in the Cup Series this season. Noah Gragson moved up from the 9 to join Petty GMS, which means Ty Dillon is out. Where will he go? Well, he has fortunately landed a ride with Spire Motorsports in the number 77, so he will be a full-timer along with Corey LaJoie. We'll see what Ty can do at Spire. And Live Fast Motorsports has returned with BJ McLeod, and also Josh Bilicki will run some races for that team, maybe some road course races. And I'm sure you've heard this as well. Jimmy Johnson has announced he is a part-time co-owner with Petty GMS and will run a partial schedule, that including the Daytona 500, as he has left IndyCar. And Austin Hill, our final announcement, is the new driver in the Beard Oil Racing Chevrolet. He has his 6 races selected, the 4 super speedway races along with Chicago, Street Course, and Michigan. And anything else will be on the community channel, or the community post as it's called, with part-timers, Daytona entries, and I'm looking forward to this season. I think it's going to be a lot of fun with a lot of series and more preseason videos to come. So that's all for this video. Come join us hopefully tomorrow night when we have the IMSA preseason video posted.